coming out and supporting the Duxbury Boosters. I'd really like to thank the Duxbury Boosters for dedicating this golf tournament in honor of my father. I'm sure that my father would be humbled. Since my older brother Peter is unable to be here this evening, I will read a letter that he has sent. This is Peter Teravainen writing and sending greetings from Singapore. I'm sorry that I couldn't join the celebration today for Duxbury Sports and my father, George Teravainen. I hope you enjoyed playing one of my favorite golf courses. Little did he know it was so cold. Dad and I played more rounds at the Duxbury Yacht Club than any other golf course in the world. But my golf career was started by my father just down the road at North Hill Country Club. I used to caddy for him for 25 cents every 9 holes. The pay wasn't so great, but the benefits were fantastic. All the hot dogs and soft drinks I could eat and drink. I was able to start playing golf because of the strong negotiating skills of my father or the kindness of the owner, Mr. Merritt. I'm not sure which was more important. The greens fees 46 years ago was good for 27 holes. My father and his friends only played 18 holes and retired to the clubhouse for important discussions the rest of the afternoon. One day after I caddied 9 holes, my father told Mr. Merritt that I would play the next 9 holes instead of caddying, and thus I would be using the 9 holes that my father was entitled to, but never used. Mr. Merritt thought this over for a long time, and then it seemed that he reluctantly agreed. My golf career got started. This month, the golfing icon, Seve Ballesteros, passed away. A friend of mine asked me to give him some of my memories of Seve. I told him about the time Seve birdied the last 6 holes of a tournament to push me down to 3rd place. 10 years playing around the world, and still I hadn't won. I called home and told my father that Seve was too tough. A lot of people might have agreed that the best player in the world was too tough. Not my dad. He said, "You're also tough, the toughest player I know." A few weeks later, I finally had my first win on the Australian tour. And over the next 5 years, I had more wins on the European, Japanese, and Asian tours. I too would like to share my thoughts about my father. I believe that what defined my father was his determination. He was determined to teach children to swim when he started a swimming school at Duxbury Beach. He was determined to share his love of athletics and sportsmanship when he started Camp T. And he was determined to grow Duxbury athletics under his tenure as athletic director. I saw this determination last summer. My family and I live in Virginia and visit for 2 weeks every summer, a week in July and a week in August. When I visited in July, I noticed how my father was beginning to fail. When we came back in August, he was even more feeble than in July. He would spend his days in his chair talking about the Blueberries, the Boston Red Sox. He was an avid fan and never missed a game on TV. And his beloved peaches. He planted 3 peach trees in the backyard about 40 feet from the house. Each day he would ask how hard the peaches were, if they were sour, and did we think they were ready. Well, one day he got it in his head that he was going to walk to the peaches. I went and got the berry ferry, a serviceable golf cart that ferried him around the property, to take him to the peaches. No, he said, he was going to walk to the peaches. We all thought, yeah, right. Well, he got his walker and got out the back door where he promptly had to sit and rest at the top of the landing. My daughters were pressed into service to be his pit crew. My youngest daughter, Nancy, walked behind him with the chair and placed it just so that he could sit back on it and rest every few steps. And Katie walked along beside him, making sure the walker didn't tip in the bumpy grass and keeping him hydrated. She carried his water bottle for the rest stops. 40 minutes later, he reached the peach trees, where he declared that, yep, the peaches were still hard, a bit sour, and not quite ready. He allowed that he would take the ferry back to the house. My father never did walk that far a distance again, but it was in that one day I witnessed the determination that defined my father his whole life. In the closing words of my brother's letter, thanks, Dad.